Welcome to America's Top Rebbetzins. May this class be for Refuah Shalema for Paralea Bas Haya Rachel. If you would like to sponsor a podcast, please email us at atrebbetzins@gmail.com. I am so happy to have on today's show Rebbetzin Miriam Mammon. Rebbetzin Miriam is the social emotional director of Derech HaTorah in Rochester, New York. She also teaches character development and the Bas Mitzvah curriculum. In addition to educating children, Rebbetzin Miriam also teaches the adult women in her community. She aspires to connect with Jewish women while bringing them to a better understanding of themselves and of Judaism. Rebbetzin Miriam teaches marriage and parenting courses, and she also just became a certified mind, body, soul life coach from the School of Torah Psychology. I think that is so cool. Thank you so much for being here. Please tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
And thank you. So excited. So my husband and I live with our children in Rochester, New York. We started off living in Israel. We were in Kollel there. And then we spent a year in Silver Spring in Kollel, in Silver Spring, Maryland. Then we moved on to Memphis, Tennessee. We spent 3 years there in the outreach Kollel. And then I think it's been almost 14 years that we're here in Rochester. And my husband is the Rav of a shul, and we started a kollel here. And what's amazing is that we really grew up with the community because we came in our mid-20s, and we grew together with everyone, and we've made so many close friends, and it's amazing. We love it. What else? My passion has always been self-growth. And I just always trying to become either a better wife or a better mother, better teacher, better Rebbetzin. And I think that that's what led me on this journey of self-care. And a couple of years ago, I started researching and really working on it because I was really not great at self-care. And that's really what I'm so excited to speak about tonight, because it's something that I want to just shout from the rooftops, as I told you, because it is just something that we need to put a spotlight on in the Jewish community, especially for women, for men too. But we do so much as women, and I feel like it's so underrated. There are not enough shiurim about it. And I'll come to your community, I'll talk to you about it, I'll do anything just to get this message out, because it really changed my life. So I'm excited to talk about that tonight.
I totally agree. So let's jump right on, because this really, you're right. Self-care is not a topic that's often talked about, and it's such an important topic. It really
is.
Yes. So taking care of yourself as a woman is so important, as you were mentioning. Life is so chaotic. Women have so many responsibilities to take care of and tasks to do. They're always busy taking care of others, and they end up neglecting themselves, which often leads to them becoming depleted and burned out. So if you're running on empty, you can't really and truly take care of others because you don't have it in you to do so. However, if you do take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul, you will be a better wife, a better mother, a better daughter, a better friend. And by giving to yourself, you will actually be able to give more to others, as ironic as that sounds. So let's delve into this topic. Can you please tell us what exactly is self-care? Is it all about manicures and a good piece of chocolate, or is there more?
Okay, those are great questions. And that was such a great and true introduction. So, so first, I just want to ask you and everyone who's listening a favor. And that is, if you have not been practicing self-care until now, or you've, neglected it a little bit, just listen with compassion, self-compassion and curiosity. Because when I started on this journey, I was very hard on myself. And that's where I went. Hopefully you won't go there. But I was like, why have I not been doing this? I've been so neglectful, and I was so hard on myself. So that didn't really help me on my journey. That kind of like detoured me, because the guilt, kind of served as a roadblock for me. So I'm just asking everyone, as we talk about it tonight, just, we don't have that much time, but we're going to try to delve in as much as we can to just listen with a self-compassion and a gentleness towards yourself. So first we'll talk about, I guess, what self-care is not, because many times we think, and this is what I thought, oh, self-care, it's so overrated. It's like, oh, it's just, people are just being selfish and taking care of themselves. And that's really not what self-care is. As much as we love to enjoy things, self-care is not, bonbons and bubble baths, even though we love those things. And those things are great. but those are more of self-indulgences. And what self-care is there are activities that we do that leave us with a feeling of happiness and fulfillment. So there are things that we can do to help our emotional, spiritual, or physical selves, and we end up feeling fuller afterwards. It gives us this feel, it increases our happiness, self-care act, and it decreases stress. Yeah, that's really, what's interesting is that this Dr. Grossman says that you can ask yourself 3 questions if you want to know whether something qualifies as self-care. Okay. So one is, does it nurture my inner self? The next one is, does this make me feel better on a spiritual level, on a deep spiritual level? And does this improve my physical or emotional well-being? And basically it's whatever fills your cup, right? So for different people, it's going to be different things. For one person, it could be nature. One person could be listening to beautiful music. It's interesting. I was talking to someone and she was saying, I don't know why my mother went to this wedding. She's so overwhelmed and she's so exhausted and she really needs to take care of herself. And I pointed out, because I know her mother, I said, what do you mean for her? That's self-care. Because for her oxygen is people. And that's what she loves. So really for another person that could deplete them going to a wedding.
Yes.
For this person that was enjoyable and that left her on a high. So whatever increases happiness and decreases stress is really what self-care is.
That's key. Very, very good point. I love that. Whatever increases happiness and decreases stress is self-care. Beautiful.
Yes. Another thing I just wanted to say is that also different ages and different stages. So I remember when I was younger and my kids were little, for me, the only self-care I wanted was sleep. I just wanted a nap. I just wanted to sleep. As the kids got a little bit older and we got a little older, I don't know, self-care has become like creative for me. I like to write plays. I like to write songs. Just, when my kids, maybe once they're out of the teenage years, if I have any brain cells left, maybe then I'll want to write or research. But it just, at different stages, there are different, things that you might consider self-care. So it changes as you get older. So that's also important to note.
That's a really, really good point. You're right. Because also now that you're bringing it up, when you're younger and you have younger kids, you also have less time to be out of the house. So your self-care, can't be like 3 hours away, all the time. When your kids are a little bit older, they're more self-sufficient. They can take care of themselves, make themselves, even a bowl of cereal just to eat something. Then you have.
True.
Yes, then you have more time to do that. Yeah. And it's also different things. Not that you can't take care of yourself when you have little kids. It's in a different way.
Exactly. So true.
And so I want to ask, is self-care, is it really a secular concept, or are there any Torah sources that support our real need for self-care?
This was my favorite question. When I saw that this is my favorite question, because really, when I was younger and I was starting off on this journey, I was so convinced that this was a secular concept and that it, like I said before, and that self-care is selfish, and that cannot be further from the truth. It is so source-based. There are so many places in the Torah. I'll give a few. It's so deeply rooted. It says, Chayav Adam Shenivra B'Tselem. Every person, Chayav, a person is obligated to understand that he was created, he or she, with Tselem Elokim, right? With a godliness. So every human being on this earth has a piece of God in them. So if we have part of God, then of course, like in plain English, God doesn't make junk, right? Like Hashem has a human being is the pinnacle of creation, right? Like I once heard someone say this and I thought this was funny, but it really resonated with me. Did you ever hear a cow in the meadow say, I want to be a better cow today than I was yesterday? I'm going to let the other cows go in front of me to graze. It's like a human being is the pinnacle of creation. And this is the way Hashem made us. B'shvili nivra ha'olam. Each person has so much. And Hashem wants us to take care of ourselves. It says in Parshas Vayikra, right? V'nishmartem ma'od l'nafshosechem. should take care of yourself ma'od. Whenever the Torah says ma'od, the Torah does not use extra words. So when it says ma'od, it means it's very important. So Hashem wants us to take care of ourselves. It's actually not practicing self-care is selfish. And I know that that sounds crazy. And I would have told whoever would have told my younger self that they're crazy, but it's really, really not. And I've seen this. So first of all, it's a mitzvah. That's number one. It's a mitzvah to take care of yourself. Hashem created you. The second reason is because it says, as we say almost every day, Borei nefashos rabos v'chasronan. Hashem has created nefashos, many people, chasronan, with chaser, from the lashon of chaser, lacking, okay? So Hashem could have created us as perfect people, but he created us lacking. Why? Because the purpose of this world is for us to help others, for us to complete others, for us to give. Hashem, it was native. Hashem was a giver. So he created the world so he could have something to give to. And then he created us so that we could give. And that's why we're created imperfect. But we can't give, like you had said before, if we don't have, right? Abundance, if we want to give abundantly, we need a lot. And a very poor person can't give charity, right? The more we have, the more we can give. And, I just am I think this is so important that we need to start showing up for ourselves and start understanding that if we want to give, that's wonderful. But in order to give, we have to have first ourselves. And when we don't, what happens is, and I've been there before, when we don't give enough to ourselves, but we still keep giving to others, we become bitter and resentful. And I was thinking of an example, imagine if someone was going to come make you dinner, right? But they were really running on empty themselves. So they were just overwhelmed, but they agreed they're going to make you dinner. And they came into your house with a pan of lasagna and they threw it down on the table and said, here, take it. Here's your dinner, right? How would you feel? Right? You'd say, don't make me dinner. I'll give my kids cereal. It's fine, right? I don't want your dinner. Like, you need your dinner more than I do, or you definitely need something. So, for lack of a better word. So, it's obvious. We have to model this behavior for our children. We can't just, we want them to see that we're not embarrassed to give to ourselves. We value ourselves enough that we want to do things for ourselves. We don't have to sneak out, and say, okay, well, I'm just going somewhere. That's what I used to do. If I was going to do some self-care. No, now I'll say, no, I'm going, just like I make an appointment to spend special time with you guys. This is my appointment to spend special time with myself. And I know that sounds funny, but that's what's healthy. And it's actually very interesting. So I teach Midos, as you had said, and in the middle school, I have this assignment that I give to the girls because, middle school is a wonderful time and everyone's very focused on themselves, and that's good. And that's the way Hashem made it. And it's supposed to be like that. But I have this assignment where we are learning about Hakar Satov, and the girls have to write a letter to their mothers and really zero in, and it has to be comprehensive and focus on all the things that they have to be grateful for that their mother does for them. So I've been doing this for many years. So recently I did it and I gave this assignment, and this one student wrote how basically, thank you, mommy, for making us dinner, even though I know you're exhausted. And thank you, mommy, for taking us places, even though I know you'd rather lie on the couch. And everything that she wrote was because I know it's so hard for you. And I thought that was so sad. But contrast that to this assignment about 6-7 years ago, I gave the same assignment. And one of the students wrote, thank you, mommy, for taking care of yourself so that you could take care of us. And I thought that was profound. I said, wow. And, if I didn't know these two families, which I do, I probably would have said, oh, well, maybe that family is a lot more, household help, or maybe they're a little wealthier. I know them. They're not. They have a huge family and they don't have a lot of help. But obviously, this mother really values taking care of herself. She really values herself enough to give herself that little bit of time, enough that her child, a sixth grader, even noticed it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really, really powerful. I love the way that you contrasted the two. It's really, really, it makes it stand out, like the effect of self-care on a person.
Sure.
Amazing. So, and I also like what you said about making an appointment. You make an appointment to take care of yourself the same way you make an appointment to spend time with your children or make an appointment to take somebody to the doctor or, things like that. You make an appointment. That's how the way you carve out time to take care of yourself. And you can really do that at all ages and all stages of your life to make an appointment with yourself.
Definitely.
So then I guess that leads me to my question. I just wanted to ask you, like, what are the things that you like to do to take care of yourself?
Okay. So I like to do too many things.
Okay.
So I have to. So what I like to do is that I like to make a list, sit down, and I've done this several times, and make a list of, and there is a wheel that you could print out online. It's called the SelfCare Wheel, and there's a lot of great information out there. But I like to make a list of all physical, spiritual, and emotional, and what I think I need in those areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's very overwhelming because I'll see like, oh my gosh, I'm missing this and I'm missing that and I'm missing this. But I think that whatever my gut tells me to do at that moment, that's really what I need the most. So for example, I might really need to exercise because that is a way that I love to walk outside. That's a part of self-care that I love. But if my gut, and I went through this, like where I was like just spiritually uninspired. And even though I knew that I really needed to make time to exercise, sometimes I would just be like, you know what? I have to listen to a class. I have to read something inspiring. I have to listen to your podcast, right? Something like that, something that inspires me because I'm an emotional person. So I need to feel connected. And even though my husband's a Rav and I teach, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I need inspiration. So I think that for me, I'll usually go with my gut, but I want to do so many things. I want to listen to music. I love to dance. I love to, spend time in nature and spend time with my kids. And I love to travel. But I can't always do all of those things. So I usually go with my gut and what that is telling me,
That's your gut is a really good, powerful compass to really tell you what you need. So it's very, very smart. So now I even want to dig even deeper. I want to really, really verbalize why is it so important for women to prioritize self-care and what are the benefits of really and truly caring for yourself?
Okay. So this is great. This is so important. So many people depend on women.
Yes.
People depend on men also, but so many people. And when we do not prioritize it, it's not going to happen. We are so busy. Our lives are incredibly busy. Our culture loves chaos, right? We have the phones ringing, everything's beeping. And, I just find it funny that now, anything you read, it's always about mindfulness. And it's just so funny because our Anshe Knesset Hagadola and all our Chachamim and our Rabbanim, thousands of years ago, were practicing mindfulness. They'd sit out in the field for 3 hours before they davened in the morning, they realized that as important as learning Torah is, and as important as davening is, mindfulness or self-care, whatever name we want to give it, it is so important because we will not be able to show up for ourselves and for others if we don't make it a priority. So we have to sit down and figure it out. Sit down and figure out, like you said before, make an appointment, realize the importance, read about it. And we just need to be able to really focus. Something that a muscle that I like to give is, let's say someone was running for a train. Okay. This woman needs to make this train and she's running on the platform and the door is open and a man is there and he's looking and he's seeing that she needs to make the train. The only problem is she's holding 2 huge bags and she just can't get onto the train. And he says, lady, drop your bags and jump onto the train, right? The train we want to get on is a train where we could show up, be there for ourselves, be the best you that you can be for you and for everyone else. But there are so many excuses, right? But my mother needs me, my father needs me, my children need me, my pet needs me, my who knows who needs me, my business needs me. There will always be stuff. There will always be excuses. And sometimes we just have to drop our bags as hard. And I'm telling you, I know it's hard. I've been on this train and I'm still on it. As hard as it is, we need to drop our bags and say, Hashem wants us to be healthy. Hashem wants us to be there. Hashem needs us. We need us. Klal Yisrael needs us. Our family needs us. We need to drop those excuses and just get on that train and take care of ourselves. Because if we don't, we can become depleted. We can become sick. There are so many different types of stress. The more I learn, the more I just read this amazing book a couple of months ago called The Body Keeps the Score by Besser Vanderkolk. And it is mind-blowing how much stress that the body holds. For different people, it's in different places. Some people it's headaches, stomach aches. It's real, but it's real. And we need to just drop those bags because we can become physically sick, emotionally sick. And we need to be able to give up our perfectionism because Hashem does not expect us to be perfect. Hashem wants us to try. And he does not, we have to untie the superhero cape and send it to the cleaners. Send it to the cleaners. And then when it comes back, put it on, but wrap yourself in it and have a little self-compassion because the more people I meet, the more I see people are so hard on themselves.
I agree.
And people are so, you can't be compassionate to others if you're not compassionate to yourself, right? It all starts with you. You can't love others like you love yourself if you don't love yourself. So we really just need to take off that cape and make it a priority. Otherwise, we'll just be depleted and we won't be able to move on. And I've seen this. So this, I can't say it enough.
Wow. And I totally agree. It's so funny because as you were saying, to be gentle and compassionate to yourself, a rabbi recently told me the same thing. He was talking to me. He said, you need to be compassionate to yourself. You need to be gentle to yourself because otherwise you can't have compassion and gentleness toward others. If you're hard on yourself, you're going to be hard on other people, and other people really need your compassion, but you can't give them your compassion if you don't give yourself your compassion first.
It's so true. And in doing that, we need to focus on what we are doing. We're doing so much and giving ourselves the pat on the back, right? Because that, when you're encouraged, when you're at work and your boss encourages you, then you want to do more, right? In order to encourage yourself, you need to push yourself. In order to move forward, you need to encourage yourself. Yes. Because if you don't, you're not going to move forward. You're going to just stay.
100%, 100%. But unfortunately, many women don't even know where to start when it comes to self-care because they've neglected themselves for so long. They don't even know where to begin when it comes to self-care. So if you have neglected yourself for years and you're completely used to only taking care of others, how do you begin taking care of yourself?
It's a great question because this is where I started, right? I was years ago, I didn't even know, I didn't even realize that I had been neglecting myself because I was on this hamster wheel and I never took the time to get off and see what's bothering me. And before we talk about that, I really want to say that sometimes you don't even know what, like we said before a little bit, but you don't even know what self-care is going to help you or which type of self-care because you're so far from it. So for example, let's say you're trying as hard as you can, you're trying to exercise, you're trying to eat well, or you're trying to, relax or take a nap, but you're not feeling those benefits of self-care. I think that the reason why is because sometimes that's the wrong avenue. So let me give you an example. Let's say someone has a cup, okay? And if there's a crack in that cup, the liquid is going to seep through. So let's say I chose physical self-care and I, decided to exercise or to eat well or whatever it is, but it's not filling me. It's filling up my mug, but my mug keeps leaking. And I think that the reason why is because sometimes there's like an emotional blockage. And sometimes if really what we need is the emotional self-care, but we're doing something else, whether it's spiritual or physical or whatever it is, and we're neglecting that issue that's been in our lives and we just keep on pushing it to the side, sweeping it under the rug, no matter what we do, that cup is going to leak. So I think to answer the question is, if I've been neglecting my self-care for so long, I think it entails a brutal, honest look at ourselves. I know for myself, that's what I had to do. I had to really look at myself. And for me personally, it was starting with the emotional. What's going on inside my head? How am I talking to myself on a daily basis? Am I speaking to myself nicely? Is my inner self-talk compassionate, or is it judgmental and harsh? Or am I always saying yes to other people? Or am I, looking at, wait, what do I need first? What does my family need? Now is there more to give? So I think people can start. It doesn't have to be starting with, going for a massage. It could be starting with saying no when people ask you for a favor that you really can't do, but your ego gets in the way. We went to this conference once, this amazing conference for rabbis and their wives. And a social worker got up and she was going to talk about self-care. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, I can't wait. This is something I've been working on. I just was so eager to hear what she had to say. And what she said was so amazing. She said, ladies, I want you to go back to your communities and tell them this. Tell them they can say no. It's okay. It's okay. You don't need to be embarrassed if you can't do something. So I think that's a very good place to start. You don't need to start with the music or the cake decorating course. Those things are great. But just starting with being able to say no. I remember someone came to our house from an in-town city and they were at our house for Shabbos. And the woman was being so nice. She was trying to be machazek me that we're living out of town and it's so hard. And she said to me, oh, so Miriam, you must have loads of guests for Shabbos every week, 30, 40 people. And I put my ego aside and I looked at her and I said, we love having guests. We do have guests a lot, but not every single week. It's too hard for me. I just can't do it. And I have to say that was so liberating to be able to say, no, it's too hard for me. I'm not perfect, And I think starting with being able to say no, being able to work on our inner chatter, work on emotional self-care. And that will lead us to a place where we can then, and we can sprinkle it with some, spiritual self-care and physical self-care. There are no rules. We could talk about this all night. It's so all-encompassing. There's so much, but really to just start with little things like that. Because I think that self-care is, hanging around people that are a good influence on you, removing some toxic people, from your life, not in a bad way, but, call those people once a week, instead of every day, just kind of sitting in and really looking at things in an honest way. I think that's really helpful.
I love that. I really love that. And I love your concept of giving yourself exactly what you need. Like with the cup dripping, if you're giving yourself the wrong type of, not the wrong type of self-care, but the type of self-care that you don't need as much, you have to give yourself what you need the most of. Yeah. And that's what's going to make a big difference. And it's always going to be a different thing. Sometimes you might need that emotional self-care a little bit more than you need the spiritual care or the physical care. And maybe next week or maybe tomorrow you'll need to go do your exercises, and following week you'll need to do a spiritual class. It's really based on what you need right at this moment, and that's what's really going to fill you up and take care of yourself. And I don't think that enough people realize that once you really, really take care of yourself, you'll be better for others. So
true.
Yes.
And about the cup, I just want to expound on it a little bit. If
Yes.
It's easier for us to think about it in terms of parenting, sometimes, you'll be, we mother all our kids differently, right? Because all of our children are so different and they're all these precious gifts, right? But, sometimes certain children will just need more.
Yes.
And we see that we're giving and giving, but it's just never enough.
Yes.
Because sometimes we have to try smarter, not try harder, right? Because maybe we're giving them compliments, but really they need our time. Maybe we're giving them gifts, but really they need something else, right? So it's just a matter of just really zeroing in and keeping your finger on the pulse of, wait a second, I'm giving to this child, but she's not receiving it, right? Her cup is leaking. what can I do? What can I do differently? Just like you said, just keep evaluating and evaluating. And it doesn't take a long time, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, asking yourself, like it's like a grocery list. I get very overwhelmed before Pesach, and I have to sit down and what do I have and what do I need? Right. So it's the same kind of thing. If we are, focused on making a grocery list for Pesach, why can't we do that for this? Why can't we say, okay, what do I have? Okay, so I am eating, I am doing this, I am doing that. Okay, but what do I need? Right? Just very simply, it doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be this whole complicated formula. It really can be simple, but we just have to make it a priority to sit and do it.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you apply it to children because, yeah, parents really do get frustrated with children because they're really giving and giving and giving. They're giving so much. They're giving so much that they're depleting themselves, but the kids still aren't happy. They're still not receiving what you're giving to them because you're not giving to them exactly the thing that they need. And if you just gave them what they needed, you'd be less depleted because you won't be
So
trying so
true.
hard.
Yep.
It's
So
amazing.
true.
Hit the nail
So
right on the head. I love it.
Thank you.
And I know that we addressed this, but I just want to maybe go back to this concept one more time. Self-care takes time. And I know moms are driving carpool and they're going to work and they're running a household and tending to the needs of our kids and our husbands and our families. How can we really, really make time to care for ourselves? I mean, I know that we talked about making appointments and even saying no kind of frees up our time also to take care of ourselves some more. Are there any other concrete tips that you could share with us?
For sure. That's a great question. I think that I've learned to couple things with other things. So for example, if for some reason you need to, I don't know, you need to do a lot of dishes or a lot of cooking for Shabbos and your kids are busy playing or they're not home or whatever, it's okay to make your self-care for that few minutes, putting on music that you love, right? Just being aware. So for myself, I get so busy that I don't remember all these lists of things. So I will just make a list on a piece of paper just to remind myself. And I'll put it on the counter and it will say, listen to music or drink a cup of tea, because I'll just forget. I get so distracted, right? So coupling things, something with something else. When I'm putting a child to sleep, right? So just laying there and being cozy with them. And afterwards, if there's 5 minutes, instead of, scrolling through my phone, right? Which is not self-care. That's just kind of like dulling your senses. I don't know what you want to call it. But instead of doing that, doing something that I do enjoy, right? How I think Rebbetzin says this. How many times do we spend just time looking down at our phone and not looking up at the sky, right? So it could just be I'm walking by the dining room table and I just smell the flowers on the table, right? Or you have a nice yummy spray from Bath and Body Works and it's just sitting there. Just smell it, spray yourself with it. When you don't have time, there are small things that you can do, a warm, cozy pair of slippers, instead of the same slippers you always wear. So just bring down the cozy slippers and put them by the door. So when you get home from work, you could put those on. Making yourself a nice salad. It is easier to grab a string cheese and a yogurt, but it doesn't take that long to make a salad, right? And to put some salmon in it. It could be when you plan your menu for the week, it could be that, you'll have this left over. So then you can put the salmon in the salad or whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be big things. I love the one, when you have a whole list of phone calls to make that are annoying. I don't like making annoying phone calls like doctor's appointments. I don't know why, it's just so tedious. I'll put a person on the list that I do enjoy calling, that I know that after I call this person, I'm going to be in a great mood, right? Or I'm going to text this friend a really hysterical, thing just before our daughter's wedding. It was very stressful with the gowns. It was just very stressful. I don't even know how to say it. And I was in the dressing room and it was just so frustrating. So I just started laughing. And I started texting my friend, like, I'm wearing a gold dress right now and I look like a big cream puff or whatever it is. It made me laugh. And we were just laughing about it. I ended up getting that cream puff dress, but whatever it is, it's just sometimes just the little small things, just being open to being a little crazy and a little weird and a little funky, and not trying so hard to just impress everyone all the time and just being yourself. I think that it's liberating. And I think that, dance around your kitchen. My kids hate it when I do it, but you know what? It's okay. Their mother's a little bit nerdy. It's fine. Little small things that you can do. It doesn't have to be big, but I like to make a list and just put it on the side, because otherwise I'm just going to do the dishes with no music, and I'm going to go from task to task, and it's just not going to become fun. We got to learn the ways, and then make a list and just, look at it just as a reminder. And that's just the little that I can say,
I love it. And in this way, your self-care elevates the mundane,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Because you know what? I always wanted to say cleaning for Pesach is such a spiritual experience, but I just didn't feel it. So I was like, okay, if I'm not going to feel it, I'm going to put on a crazy bandana, and we're going to blast the music, and we're going to slide across the floor on towels, and we're just going to have a blast. We're just going to make it fun. And no, it's not always fun. There will be yelling, and, we are normal. But I'm saying, you just you just have to go with it and try to, make it as doable as possible, even the tedious things.
I love it. I love it. It's beautiful, and it's real, and it's powerful. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rebbetzin Miriam, for taking the time to join us on America's Top Rebbetzins. We really enjoyed having you here, and may all our learning today be for Refuah Shalema, for Peril Leah, but Haya Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.